mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. It's alive! It's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremony, Sam, and I am joined as always by Dan from Bleed and Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Can I get any of you a drink? I was going to say it, but I stopped myself. We're in the monetization danger zone, so
I'll say it later. But
yeah.
Hi, Dan.
I'm going to circle back on that in a bit. Yeah. It's been a funny old day,
hasn't it? It's been a funny old time. I feel like we need a good giggle after last week.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. Today, we're doing Shaun of the Dead. That is genius, by the way. Sorry, audio listeners. Dan actually has the Shaun badge on.
Hi.
With
sales advisor.
Love it. Love it. With a very beautiful shining cardigan on.
I am so very good at props on a recording where not necessarily people can see. That's my it seems to be what I'm very good at.
I'm very glad some people can't see my background because I've got two cats reenacting the Lion King behind us. Cheeky little bastards. Right, I want to do the disclaimer and then we're going to get on into Shaun of the Dead. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our Facebook pages, the Discord, or even the comment section, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong, because we can all agree to disagree in fandom. So, let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of nerdism.
Don't be a dick.
Well said. Well said.
I
worried. I did worry that I was going to forget it, given that I didn't do it last week. I was like, will I be able to say the disclaimer? Will I remember it? I've been saying it for nearly 2 years now. I'm sure I will be able to remember it.
I'm just more concerned of what the subtitles are going to translate into, because, me being so unintelligible, my accent's clearly an issue with the subtitles.
Which is so weird, because you would think it would be mine, not yours.
AI doesn't like me. It's fine.
Apparently not.
No, I have clearly got some sort of anti-AI aura about me. I don't know. I'll take it. The robots are coming, they'll leave me alone.
The AI is racist.
Well, there is a line in Shaun of the Dead which I could say, but I won't, because I'm never going to use that word in my lifetime.
No.
And I still think it is one of the most unexpected lines in a movie, but
Well, Shaun of the Dead is the 2004 zombie comedy film directed by Edgar Wright and written by Wright and Simon Pegg, starring Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Kate Ashfield, Lucy Davis, Dylan Moran, Bill Nighy, and Penelope Wilton. It's just one of those days when you're feeling a little dead. As Monsters Up North brings you Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, it does. I bloody love this film. Do you know what? It's been so long since I've seen it, but I thought I remembered it verbatim, and then last night me and Rob put it on and we were watching it, and I was just like, we were proper belly laughing. And it was just one of those films that, like I say, you think and then you watch it again and you're like, oh, I forgot about that bit. Oh, I forgot about that bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. So yeah, that cheered me right up, that did.
Oh, and imagine when did I have the day in bed? Monday, after the weekend of For Love of Horror, where I did not get out of bed all day. and just went on Netflix and just movie after movie, and Shaun of the Dead was one of them. And I, to this day, just love that film. Like, actually love the whole trilogy itself. Like, Hot Fuzz is some of the funniest shit I have ever seen.
For the greater good.
They're great or good.
Yeah.
You can't say it once. You've got to. Someone has to finish it off. And I love it. I've got like line. We're doing Shaun of the Dead, Sam, not Hot Fuzz. Otherwise, I'd start like doing recording stuff from it constantly. But I remember when this first came out, and it was before I'd seen Spaced.
Right.
So because Anth was like, I love Shaun of the Dead, I love Hot Fuzz, and he was like, you love this duo, like this trio so much, because it's technically a trio. It's Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and Edgar Wright. He was like, you need to watch Spaced. So we went out and bought a Spaced, and I instantly fell hard for Spaced. But I didn't put two and two together that the episode Art, which is one of my favorite episodes, not only does it have David Walliams in it playing, it also has Dennis Pennis, what's his name? Paul.
Oh, Paul.
What's his name? That's so annoying.
I know. I've seen him in so many things.
He's actually in he's in a few of their other works. I always thought I would remember his name, but he plays Hoover in that episode. What's his name, Dan? What's his name? By the way, people, Dan is looking.
Paul K.
Paul K. Oh my gosh, yes. But I didn't put two and two together that episode had anything to do with Shaun of the Dead, but it has everything to do with Shaun of the Dead. Because it's the episode where Tim is up all night on dodgy speed playing Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And
hello, Brian.
Brian. It was
hello, Brian.
And it was the inspiration behind that episode being written was Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg having a conversation on, but how do you think England would survive a zombie apocalypse? Because unlike our American counterpart, we don't have the kind of easy access to guns like they do. So how would we be able to get through a zombie apocalypse like they for us? And also Edgar was like, he managed to completely avoid swine flu epidemic or pandemic, whatever, it's epidemic, because he didn't come out the house for a month. So it's the naivety of what Shaun goes through the beginning part of the film, where he just, he manages to walk from one end of his street to the other, and there's a whole shit of things going on around him, and he doesn't see any of it.
Yeah, what they did say that they didn't want to tone down the Britishness to appease any other audiences. They said that was one of the things that they were really trying to keep, because Edgar fought so hard to keep Nick and Simon in the main roles, because they were relatively unknown at that point. Spaced, if you were a Spaced fan, you knew who they were, but this was the first of the Cornetto trilogy, so this set the careers in motion that they've all had now. I mean, if you look at their works since, not just the Cornetto trilogy, I mean, you look at Simon, he's been in the Mission Impossibles, he's in Star Trek, he's Nick,
The Boys.
Nick's done so many things as well, so it's insane. Also, Peter Serafinowicz, you see what Peter's in now. He's been in Guardians.
The fact you can say his name. He's the voice of Darth Maul.
He's the Tick.
Yes.
It's when you start going through the cast list, and when you see the similarities to how hard Edgar fought to keep everybody in one way or another, even if it's only a quick cameo or something like that from Space, to be in it. I think the only person that wasn't is Mark Heap, which is Brian. And and I've forgotten her name, the woman who says Brian. But them two, they're the only two that I don't think are in it.
No, but I'm sure they get used later on, either in World's End or Hot Fuzz. She's definitely in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think she was a florist or something, wasn't she? But yeah, I love the fact that we're living in a British universe at which the characters are being the actors are being reused in different characters, because you see it now in like AHS, and you see it in the Flanagan verse, and you see it in those places, and like it's a new invention. And even when probably Edgar and Simon did it, it wasn't a new invention at the time, but it felt new because you were seeing people that you loved, and you were seeing actors that you hadn't seen anywhere else. I mean, Mark Heap is now more famous for playing Friday Night Dinner, is it? Shalom, that's where people know Mark Heap from. I love Mark Heap from personally, and yes, I know this is a Monsters podcast and you can all gun for me, but one of my all-time comfort movies in the whole wide world is going to shock some people here. Stardust.
Fuck off, really?
I love that film with a passion. Jonathan Ross's wife, for me, is a genius.
Yes.
Jane Golding, that movie, to get all of those British actors and to get all of those people together in one place to play those characters. Mark Heap was one of the bumbling brothers.
That makes sense.
It just, when you look at the cast list, Charlie Cox, Henry Cavill, Robert De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, you start going through the cast list and you're like, not only have you got those, then you've got every single British actor that's ever lived, Mark Strong. It was just one of those like cascade of movies that was so well written, so fantasized, and I love the fact that it was so.
I love Goldman. I always have. When she used to do her own paranormal show, I love Jane Goldman. She's a brilliant writer. She did Kick-Ass. She did one of the X-Men movies. She is a top-notch writer. That family knows their shit. Like,
They do.
Yeah, you can give Jonathan Ross as much shit as you want to, but he knows his stuff.
Jonathan actually, oddly, did a interview with a guy I know, Gavin, who has his own YouTube channel, and I think it's called Old Vintage Toys, Leicester's Vintage Toy Shop, something like that, the channel. And he and his friend went and interviewed Jonathan Ross, and they thought it was only going to be like a 10-15 minute interview, but he invited them to his secret lair and showed them his entire toy collection, and it's all on Facebook, all on YouTube, and it's absolutely amazing. The guy's obsessed with Japanese bootleg toys. Yes. And his collection was insane, and they said they were there for hours. They thought it was going to be like 10 minutes, but he got so excited about talking about his toy collection, I'm
not surprised. But going to the realism of, for us, as being based in the UK, my middle nephew hated this film. It was on ITV, and we were all at my mother-in-law's and father-in-law's for the night, having like a tea, and it came on ITV, and when the zombie part started to come in, he freaked the fuck out. It was too fucking real for him, because it was set in England. If it was something that was set in America, I don't think it would have made a blind bit of difference to him. But because these were streets he could recognize, these were cars he could recognize, shops, the accents. Yeah. He didn't like it. He didn't like it. He freaked the fuck out.
I can understand why. I mean, it was approached with such Britishness. Just like even the comedy, like we would act like that. We would be like, shit, we've not got a gun, what can we use? We'll just throw a cup at their head. What have you got? I've got the kitchen roll holder. I've got a washing basket. Like, and the random objects like the sugar bloody tub that you have your tea, coffee, and your sugar in, throwing that at them. It was it's
the vinyls though. The vinyls do it for me, because it's the fact that they try a couple and it doesn't work. But when that one hits, it's like, right, this is what's gonna save us. Is these vinyls.
I mean, I will start at the beginning. I suppose we're getting a bit ahead, but the movie starts out and Shaun is your most lovable loser. That's the whole point about Shaun. He is supposed to be that kind of boyfriend that we've all had, or possibly even girlfriend or partner that you've had, that just loves routine, loves comfort,
the
loves the same
simple.
thing over and over again, doesn't want much for life, not bothered about traveling, just likes to do what they want to do. And it is the same thing time and time again. And to be a partner with someone like that, when you're someone who's more
Adventurous.
adventurous and likes to go out and do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I can see why Liz was very frustrated with Shaun. It was one of those things where, you can tell he's made this promise time and time again. Oh, right, yeah, we'll do something, we'll go somewhere, things will change, I promise. And you can guess they don't change.
No, but he does try that opening scene though, especially we're past the monetization now, where you first get introduced to Nick Frost's character, and it's, can I get any of you cunts a drink?
Yep. That's like, it's still one of those things where, and it never, when he was in Spaced, Nick Frost was literally the guy that hid behind, he was like the conspiracy guy. He was that person. So seeing him play
Opposite,
this,
because Mike was so like Mike you thought was
yeah,
like there was something something not there when it comes
yeah,
to Mike, but he could come up with the most profound things to like be able to put Tim, but then he would snap out of it straight away and be like,
yeah,
what? But my favorite Mike part, the rave, is one of my favorite episodes where they go to the nightclub with tires,
yeah.
because it's Mike at the end, always for the hardcore UK raver. I mean, I'm still do that to this day, but it's the where Tires goes, I saw Mike on Crime Stoppers the other day, and he was like, oh, that was a case of a mistaken identity. Oh no, this was a few weeks ago. Oh yeah, that was him.
There's two episodes that I love, and one of them's a paintballing episode, and the other one is the one where they're talking about the Phantom Menace, and they keep going burning it in the garden, and like Mike is adamant, and the irony of Simon Pegg getting so annoyed with it to the point of where like it's not a thing, it should never have been made, Jar Jar Binks is evil and all
It's
that
when
sort of
he's
stuff.
screaming at that kid, and it's like,
Yeah, in the comic shop when he's just going at that kid. Yeah.
Oh, but it's
Oh,
the I'm Andy McNabb, I'm Andy McNabb, I'm Andy McDowell.
it's such a flip for Mike, going from Mike to going to Ed, and
Yeah.
Ed just never held back. He was, it just, if it was in his head, it came out of his mouth. There's no filter with
Yeah.
Ed.
No, there's not. Absolutely not. He's the complete opposite to Mike. He is then the absolute bipolar opposite to his character in Hot Fuzz. To
Yeah.
even his character, Nick Frost has some fucking range. Like, I honestly feel like between the two of them, Nick is the better actor. I'm sorry. I think because
Yeah.
with Simon Pegg, you know what you're getting with him. With Nick
Yeah.
Frost, you have no idea what Nick you're going to be getting.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the only time I think I've really been surprised by him was his Scottish accent wasn't as offensive as it could have been in Star Trek.
Yes.
It could have been worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was Huey's dad in The Boys, I was actually really quite surprised because I thought he did a really good job with the emotion thing.
Very good.
So that whole episode in the last series where in the hospital, that whole thing, I'm not spoiling it for anyone, but
no, it's not even the fact of spoiling it, Dan. It's actually reliving it again because that was horrific.
Peak Peg, that's what I'm calling that episode. But yeah, you're right.
I'm not saying he's a terror. Like, Simon is so good at doing what he does, and I have Tim is one of my favorite written out characters.
Yeah.
Like, I adore him. Him and Daisy are just. I mean, I love Daisy, and I love the fact that Jessica Haynes is in this as well. Like, there's a little nod to her. And they also use fried gold, which comes from space. And skip to the end. That's another one from space as well.
They wanted to get Colin the dog even to have a cameo. in Shaun, because they wanted him eating his owner to be seen, and I was just like, they just couldn't make it work in the end for whatever reason.
Oh,
But
that is a shame.
Colin was just like, every time I see Space, the first thing I shout is Colin. With that episode where they're just standing in the park
You
shouting
sounded
Colin,
like Daisy there.
Colin.
It's, oh my gosh, it's, oh, sorry to go on a space bit, but it's Daisy in the pub where I don't want to be a tiger. It's what it's the Matrix episode where they do the fake shootout with the kids. Sorry.
Honestly, if you haven't seen Space, I don't know where you
Please.
can watch it.
Channel
I think
4.
it's on on More 4 or one of those, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they have it.
On demand, one of
Yeah.
those.
If you ever have a chance to buy it on DVD, I would,
I've
because
got it. Yeah.
there is a special episode, not a special episode, but a special reunion between the three of them. Jessica Haynes, oh, I don't know what name she's going by at that point. Jessica Haynes, Simon Pegg, and Edgar Wright, and they are walking you through Spaced and how it is, how it all came to be, the locations, the writing, the characters, and then at the very end, as it focuses in on the house, it pulls out, and then you've got Tim and Daisy at the front door arguing over who's getting picking the paper up, because one of them has to pick their daughter up. I fucking love the fact that we find out what happened to Tim and Daisy all those years later by just that one tiny little bit.
And the copy of the DVD that I've got was the one where they ripped off the Phantom Menace as the front cover.
I got that one.
Yeah. It's I highly recommend it, and we will keep going backwards and forwards, because it being the first thing since Space was 1999. So
Yes.
for any of you pre-young babies, if you love the Cornetto trilogy, please go back and watch Spaced. It's only 2 seasons. It's only something like 20 episodes. There's not a lot.
No, you
but
can blitz them.
Yeah, it's well written, and they're relatively short. I think they're about 25 minutes each at most. I think that I don't think there's much more to it than that.
No, there's not. They're very basic Channel 4 comedy programs that we used to be on in the day.
And they are this is where you'll get your education into how Simon and Edgar write the way that they do.
Especially
I know
Edgar.
Jessica. Yeah, I know Jessica obviously co-wrote Space with them, and not this, but the filming style that they have, and if Edgar takes it into Baby Driver, you see that very similar quick chop and changes, the editing being the way it is, the long sweeping shots, it carries through, and you get an idea of what you're in for, but not really.
It even leaves its imprint in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Edgar Wright had Ant-Man so when Marvel was about to start, and they were kicking off, Iron Man was always going to be number 1. And Ant-Man was going to follow shortly afterwards, Edgar Wright being the writer of that. And things didn't go terribly wrong, but it didn't go down that Edgar ended up doing the film in the end, and Ant-Man got pushed to the back burner for a little bit longer, and it came out when it did. However, parts of Edgar's script is still used, and you can clearly tell which of them parts. It's the Lewis monologue where he's reenacting what the conversations he's had with people, and it's him doing all that is Edgar Wright.
He's doing the take the car, go to mum's, kill Phil, sorry, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for this all to blow over. How's that for a slice of fried gold? It's that scene, isn't it? Where they're constantly chopping and changing, and then Ed's adding something new in, or they're changing their mind. And that is very Edgar style in the way that they edit the film. So did you know Simon Pegg turned down a film to be in this? Now, I think he mentioned it, didn't he, when we interviewed him?
I felt like when I read this, I already knew this, and I'm like, given the year that we've had, I generally can't remember anymore, and I'm not going to go back and watch it again because I can't watch that episode again.
But apparently Simon was supposed to be in Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
Now I can see him being the Spooner character, but I like Darren. I think Darren does a great job at it, and I think Simon would have brought an element of comedy to it that this movie doesn't need. Dog Soldiers doesn't need that. It
No.
works well the way it is. But that was released in 2002, and they were filming this in 2003. But the overlap was going to happen, so he took, because he'd heavily invested. This is the thing, right? Edgar went next to Brassic trying to make this film work.
Yes. Yes, he
They
did.
did it on a budget of 4 million, which is a lot of money, but it wasn't given by a studio.
No,
The
it
4 million
wasn't.
budget was raised through donations, friends, investments. People don't realize that movie studios go, here you go, here's 4 million to a brand new like setup of a movie that's got nobody famous in it, really. You're going off TV characters, TV actors. This is the first time you're doing a major motion picture with them, and nobody was going to give them the light of day. A working title was supposed to, and there
That's
was
what I'm looking for. Who was meant
and
to give them the money?
Channel 4 was supposed to, but something happened where it didn't quite pan out. So Simon and Edgar basically invested everything they had into the film. So Simon couldn't walk away. He didn't want to walk away. As far as he was concerned, it was like he didn't want to push it back anymore. He didn't want to walk away from the movie, but he didn't want to push the movie back any more than it needed to be. So hence why he turned down Dog Soldiers. But it was one of those things where Simon still to this day tries to pay Edgar back, and Edgar won't take the money.
He wouldn't take the money. I read that. He was like, he still to this day tries to give him money back, and he won't take it, because I think that's just, I don't know, I get such a loyalty and something so special out of their friendship that it is beyond what we think it is. There's something definitely deeper there between the two of them, even Nick Frost as well included, because you can't, for all Nick doesn't have the same credits as Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, I feel like he's still very much a part of that trio. I probably have said that once before, but I'm saying
no, but you're right, because people don't say Simon Pegg without Nick Frost, or they don't say Nick Frost without Simon Pegg.
I can't say the three of them. I have to do all three.
They went on to do Paul, didn't they? Was that with Edgar as well, Paul?
I fucking love that film so much. I don't think it is. I think it's the first one minus, and it's just them two.
Yeah, which explains a lot of the. It feels like for me, it feels like the character, the actors they got to put in it were for clout, not to make the film successful, rather than for it to be.
Because they needed the names, didn't they? They couldn't. I feel like they were
Kirsten Bell, whatever her name is, Kirsten.
But Kirsten Wiig wasn't even a big name at the time. Like, if you weren't a Saturday Night fan, you're not going to know the name Kristen Wiig on the back of Paul, because Bridesmaids and that hadn't even happened yet. But
Seth
the likes
Rogen was Paul, wasn't he?
Seth Rogen was Paul. Sigourney Weaver was in it. The Charles Boyle from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is in it now. Yeah. I love that film so much. That had such a grip on me and Ant, because we were like, we want to do San Diego Comic-Con, and then we want to do the same route that they did, going down to Vegas and seeing all the alien shit. And I love how they introduce themselves. The writer. This is the writer, and this is I absolutely adore that film. But I can go through everything Simon Pegg and Nick Frost ever did, and I can't say I didn't love it. I can't.
I suppose, Paul, I would say for me, Paul's my least favourite.
I see, I still got a special place for it.
Out of the Cornetto trilogy, for me, Shaun wins hands down. Hot Fuzz, and then It's World's End.
Yeah, I would agree. Anth wouldn't. Hot Fuzz will always be number one for him. Instantly. I remember when Shaun of the Dead came out, and the merch started to come out for it, and he got me this beautiful statue of Shaun, and it was about big on a grey bit of slab that had the records there, and he was holding the baseball bat. We had an incident, and Shaun got halved. He fell off. Yeah, my cats knocked him over, and he fell onto the floor and literally halved in the middle. So for years, I had like the worst super glue like attached to like try and to the point where it was like I need to give up the ghost, like Shaun has to go. I was devastated. Like the stand looked terrible. Shaun's hanging on by his waist.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that links me
mhm.
to a point of where we obviously have the most amazing, talented god of an actor, Mr. Bill Nighy. He
Oh,
plays Philip. Now, originally, that's not who they wanted to cast to play Philip. Originally, they approached Jim Broadbent, and
shut up.
no, Jim turned it down.
What?
He was then interviewed after Shaun of the Dead came out, and he said, as soon as I saw this film, I regretted it. I knew I'd made a massive mistake. So they wrote the role for him specifically
In Hot
in
Fuzz? Oh
so
my
that he could be in
gosh.
the movie, because he was so uh, he couldn't stop kicking himself, and he was so apologetic to Edgar Wright.
I am so glad they went down that route though, because he's to me, Jim Broadbent is always going to be Slater, the slag. And if anyone is not listening from the UK, that is an Only Fools and Horses reference. He played the detective Slater,
Mm-hmm.
Roy Slater, who was the bane of Delboy's life,
Yep.
but has some of the greatest episodes. The night in the police station is my personal favorite, where all he wants to do is get out of him who stole the microwave off the back of the van, and he gets himself to have full immunity. Nobody can be touched, and then he confesses it to him like it was me. It's just amazing. Jim Broadbent is a darling, but I'm glad they went down the route that they did with
Yeah.
Bill Nye, and it's for him to have his part in Hot Fuzz. Um, this movie is very heavily influenced by a certain genre.
Oh, who could it be? Color me confused.
What I found actually impressive, we know that if you know this film, you know it is very heavily influenced by George A. Romero's great movies, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, any parts of the dead, apart from the return of
Okay.
the living dead. It's not influenced by this at all. However, I didn't realize until upon reading that 28 Days Later is an influence, but in the worst way.
Yeah. They
And
weren't overly respectful,
no,
which is surprising considering they are known for being very they don't have drama.
no,
But
no, not at all.
this felt a little diggy. Like
Yes, and I can't find my note of what it was.
basically what it was at the end of the movie where Shaun and Liz are sitting on the sofa, they're
Mm-hmm.
flicking through the channels like they did when
Yes, got it. Yes, go on.
and the gist of it is what's said is something along the lines, I've just got to find it because I've got it written down as well, but
It's to do with a so the
monkey.
monkey bite. So it's the
Yeah.
yeah. So there's sorry, there's two facts that I have about how this all started, and this is one of them was the fact that they said the TV show had said it was a monkey bite. I love the fact that they managed to use actual BBC news presenters to
Yeah.
do this, and actual people of the television at the time, like Trisha, because that was huge on our tellies at the time.
I've got it here. It
Yeah,
said that the newsreader said the epidemic was due to a rage infected monkeys. They have that. Hang on. Oh yeah. Claims that the epidemic was due to rage infected monkeys have now been dismissed as and then Liz turns off the telly. But
yeah.
because 28 Days Later came out 2 years prior to this movie, it was a bit of a like dig at the fast zombies, the whole, because that's always going to be an ongoing debate, fast or slow. And when Shaun and Edgar were asked
I've
why
just
they
read
made
that
why they made them slow, he was like, well, go on, say
because death is not an energy drink.
exactly. I mean, that is one of the best reasons, and that's the best description for slow moving zombies. It makes sense. You've died. How your corpse is reanimating itself? It's going to have to learn to do all this shit again.
Which,
It's like,
but I didn't have a problem with
I don't mind
Night,
fast ones.
night.
They
It
have
was
a
it.
time and a place.
Which one's the most not most recent, but more the early 2000s?
Dawn of the Dead. The Dawn of the Dead remake was the one where they.
No, after that, it was a Romero film. It was it wasn't Night of the Dead. It was, oh my God, what is going on with my brain? It's got where they're starting to have some consciousness.
Oh, with Bub.
No, that was a Top Grumps episode this week. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know they were moaning about Bub, so I didn't want to jump in because I was going to get angry because Bub is a god and I will have no.
Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead with
2005. I knew it was around that time.
Eugene Clark.
And John Leguizamo, Dennis Hopper.
Yes.
In it. Yes, that one. I didn't mind the fact that the zombies were gaining some consciousness because of the amount of time that they'd been around, but they still managed to move slow as well. They weren't like, it wasn't something that they were fastly picking up. So I kind of got my head around that easier than some.
Well, Land of the Dead as well is the one that George, because Edgar was so respectful, he went to George and he said, look, we've made the movie now, but is it okay if we loosely hang on to what you have already made? And George was like, well, send me a reel, a rough cut. I'll sit and watch it and I'll tell you what I think. So they sent him, there's a story where they sent George a rough cut of the film, and George sat in a like a completely shut a movie theater down. There was one security guard and him. And apparently when it interviewed later, the security guard said George laughed all the way through it. He walked out of the cinema. First thing he did was get in contact with Ed, and he was like, yep.
He loved it so much.
It
was such a personal homage to him, but it was the "we're coming to get you, Barbara" line.
Yeah.
George didn't even recognize it as his own line because of
They're
the way it's
coming to get
delivered.
you, Barbara.
It's the way, because Ed shouts it down the phone, doesn't he? "We're coming to get you, Barbara."
Yeah, it's the fact that then he gave them something back. He gave Nick and Simon the ability to be a zombie in Land of the Dead.
Yeah.
There's a scene with a photo booth, and they're the two zombies in the photo booth. So it's a weird like setup, but because being British can go in your favor sometimes, because being respectful can get you quite far.
Yeah,
there's ways and means to play things, and if you want to be a Karen and that's the avenue you go down, kudos to you. But I don't. I am one of these people that find the respectful route a little bit more successful.
I am way too polite for my own good.
Yeah.
People bump into me and I say sorry.
I'm the same. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, because they were so respectful and the source material meant so much to them in the first place, they didn't want to just release it without the blessing of the Godfather.
But yeah, and I totally understand that. The references are amazingly subtle, but very this film is very fucking clever. Incredibly clever with how they do things. There is a moment at the beginning of the film when Shaun is heading to the shop for the first time, and a worker on the streets listening to the radio, and the newscast mentions that a space probe of an unexpected re-entry has hit Earth's atmosphere, and it's broke up over England. That's a reference to Night of the Living Dead.
Also, this is because Shaun worked at 4A Electronics, and who played the lead character?
Oh my gosh,
Ken Forey in
Dawn of the
Night
Dead.
of the Living Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, sorry. Yeah. You know what? We're talking about so many of the deads. My brain's gone.
Honestly, I totally get that, because I get so confused with Night of the Living Dead, The Return. It gets
I can keep that separate, but all the others, for some reason, they all get in. Lots of the deads. Anyway.
So many deads.
So many deads. So they were originally going to call this film Tea Time of the Dead.
Shut up. I didn't know that.
And I'm like, no.
Shaun
of the Dead is a play on Dawn of the Dead, so it works. Like,
oh my gosh, I've just got that.
Yeah, so it works because it keeps in that genre. It's got that sound, like it belongs there. It belongs there, But did you know at the very, very end, if you watch it all the way through to the end, there's a small scene where it says something along the lines of coming soon. Where is it gone? Oh yeah, coming soon, Shaun of the Dead 2, from dusk till Shaun. But they never made it.
Amazing. That's amazing. And the thing is, though, with this, the movie is one thing. The work that they did afterwards for DVD releases was something quite unheard of. They did fillers. You got to learn what Shaun did when he disappeared from the pack. You got to know Lucy, calling her Lucy, but I know that's not her name. You got to learn her fate.
Oh God, what was her name?
I want to call her Dawn because that's
Diane.
all I know.
Yeah,
Diane. Because she's Dawn from The Office for me. So
yeah.
But it's Lucy Davis.
Yeah, and some people don't know this. Lucy Davis is, more recently, for you people who are a lot younger, Lucy Davis played Aunt Hilda in Sabrina, the most recent TV shows.
She didn't she?
And
yes, she's in Wonder Woman.
She was also, Etta Candy in Wonder Woman and Dawn in the Office. But for those of you who are around our ages and slightly older, you may know a certain comedian that is her father, Mr. Jasper Carrot, which to this day, I can't get my head around. He created Lucy Davis.
No,
Jasper Carrot was a very, very famous TV comedian who was famous for being from Birmingham. And he had this thick black country accent. And he was a comedian as well, so it all kind of worked.
Driest of humor when it comes to him. But he did a TV program in the 90s called The Detectives.
Yeah,
I adored that program so much. There was one episode in particular, and it's the Cluedo episode. I look with Jerry Hall. I absolutely love that episode so much. I loved his comedy styling. But I was shocked as shit because obviously I'm a huge Office fan. UK came first, and she was in there as Dawn.
She was Pam. For anybody who's trying to look at a comparison, she was pretty much the Pam character.
Sorry to go off track here for a second, but have you seen?
No, I know what you're going to say.
Oh my gosh, isn't it so sad?
What?
With Pam?
No, I haven't heard that. I thought you were going to talk about the Australian version of The Office.
No, that's not fucking telling that. Well, I don't even know what you're talking about. It doesn't even exist.
Yes.
Didn't see it on my Prime the other day and go, the shit is that? No, Pam, I can't. Jenna, can't think of her surname. Has just come out and she's in remission from cancer.
I know she was doing a lot with
she's doing the women podcast with Angela Kingsley, who's
her and Angela also do the Office one, but they finished it now.
They
finished that one, and she was doing it all the way through her treatment. It was something to keep her going during all that. So when they originally started it, nobody thought that Pam and her would be friends, because they're obviously Pam and Angela were friends, with their mortal enemies in the TV show. It turns out Creed lives next door to her.
They're best friends. They're all literally best friends. But her and Jenna specifically, and she was talking about her treatment, and Angela was the only one who knew. Jenna has kept this very private. And so Jenna started to lose her hair through her chemotherapy treatment. So she would wear a hat that had her hair on the back of it, so it looked like so Angela started doing the same, so nobody would question while they were sitting in board meetings why she was wearing a baseball cap with her hair. It's because Angela Kingsley did exactly the same thing, because that's how much of a good friend she is.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it?
But that came to my head there.
No, I mean, going back to the point about the extras in the DVD, that you actually find out that Diane, Lucy Davis's character, she survived.
She did.
Because you initially think she's going to die, because after David gets torn apart proper of the Dead style, like we are going all out homage to that one scene, and when they start pulling his stomach out, it is just, it's amazing. But she grabs it. It's either his arm or his leg, and
It's
she
his
starts
leg, I think.
whacking all the
But that's what
zombies.
she uses to survive is David's limb, like to get her up a tree until the
Yeah,
army come and save her.
it says here she fought her way through the zombies using David's severed leg, climbed a tree, and hid up there for several days, surviving by eating David's leg.
Yeah.
I mean, that's commitment. I
That
don't think Daph's was worth that much because
he
Dylan
was.
Moran played an arrogant prick so well.
But then has
So
his redeeming moment where he's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." So the scene where Shaun has to shoot his mum,
mm,
this absolutely broke Edgar Wright.
mhm.
He did not want to do this. Simon Pegg certainly did not want to do this scene. And when
Yeah,
it was all said and done, him and Nick Frost just bawl their eyes
yeah.
out. They hated it so much, but it had to be done.
I love the way that the mum plays the mum because the mum plays the mum exactly like most of our mums. Like that whole section where Philip sat in the chair and she's like, "Well, I called the doctor," and Philip's going, "You didn't bother him. What did you do that for? I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with." Everybody who has
It's
parents
such an English
has
couple thing
witnessed,
to say, yeah.
yeah, has witnessed this conversation at some point. And then like the mum going, "Oh, I'll make a cup of tea. Do you want some sandwiches? Do you want any?" No, thank you.
Not even
I'll make you
listening to.
some sandwiches.
No. Do you take sugar? I haven't taken sugar since 1992. When did you stop taking sugar?
Yeah. And
Penelope Wilton is an
yeah.
absolute institute in the UK. She will not be very well known to any overseas people. She
Uh,
is.
Afterlife might have done that for them though.
Yeah, I was just thinking that because she was in Afterlife. But for us, she just appears everywhere in the best way. My personal favorite is Calendar Girls. I love her in Calendar. I love Calendar Girls. I love Helen Mirren so much that I will watch anything that she's in.
She was originally supposed to play Shaun's mum.
Shut up.
Helen Mirren was up for the part. She read the script and she turned around and she said, "I'm sorry, there's only one part I want to play in this movie and it's not her." And when Edgar asked her who, she said, "I want to play Ed." And he was like, "Well, that's
You are
Nick's part."
ballsy.
Yeah, he was like, "Well, that's Nick's part." And she was like, "I understand, it's perfectly fine, but Ed's the part I would have had if I wanted, if I was gonna go for anything." So,
Helen Mirren is a ballsy bitch. I like
and
it.
did you also know that there was a very, very famous woman who was supposed to be playing Liz,
Mhm.
but she dropped out due to, I want to say, a film that came out around the same time called
Sunshine of the
Eternal
Spotless Mind.
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which was Kate Winslet. She was supposed to play Liz. So
I'm kind of glad she didn't because Eternal
I'm
Sunshine of the
glad.
Spotless Mind is one of my favorite. I love that. I use that term a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I watched it. I like a serious Jim Carrey at times.
Yeah, at times
And
it's needed.
at times, yeah. I didn't mind that. And I didn't mind the number 27. I know, and
Yeah, the one where, yeah, yeah.
the numbers thing, yeah. I'm kind of glad, like, I like Kate Winslet. My opinion changed on her when she did extras with Ricky Gervais. And she plays the dirty nun.
Mm.
And she's absolutely fun. It's watching Kate Winslet in a nun outfit going like that. And it's just so weird.
Instead of Jack, don't leave me, Jack. Well, let him get on the fucking door then.
Yeah, you totally killed Jack there, Like you both could have literally hung on the side of it. And
It's been proved he could have fit on it.
Mhm.
They've had mathematicians, like proper like people study the dimensions of the door, the amount of space she took on it, and whether he would have fit through other
So
like
funny.
analytics during the film of his size, and they were like, "Yeah, they could have easily both fit on that fucking door." So,
Oh,
but I
I love it.
digress.
I've just noticed when I've mentioned Jessica Haynes earlier, she's actually credited as Jessica Stevenson.
Yeah,
I
that was
wasn't
her
too
other
sure.
name, I think.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what name she goes by. But she'll always be Jessica Haynes to me.
I love the bit in this movie where Edgar gives her the credit that she's due in a kind of unsung way. You get the bit where they bump into each other, and there's this whole background scene going on where this guy crashes his car, the ambulance turns
Oh,
up. These two are so oblivious, like it hasn't even hit home to Shaun at this point that anything's actually happening.
it's the
he bumps into
Shaun.
her. Yeah, Shaun. She's very like that. But yeah, they bump into each other, and like she's like, oh, what's going on? He's like, oh, we're going out for dinner, blah 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 blah. I've been with her 3 years. And oh, that's nice. And then it's like this whole conversation.
You can
that's
do
really
Daisy
awkward.
so well.
I've watched it too many times. But like there's that whole conversation that takes place. Like you can see that they must have dated when they were
Well,
younger.
they are the male and female version of each other, and that's what they were in Spaced as well.
Yeah.
So because when later on in the movie you see her friends who
Yeah.
are the exact same as Shaun's friends.
And it's Reece Shearsmith. There's Matt Lucas. There's
the other lady from
Green Wing.
Friday night Friday night
the mum. Yeah.
Yes.
Then
what this was about, trying to coax it out your brain.
I was just trying to think who else there was, because I can't. Yeah, it was Matt Lucas was the Nick Frost character, was Ed.
Yeah.
Then Reece Shearsmith was supposed to be like the Dylan Moran character, Daffs.
Totally get that.
Can't remember who was Lucy though, like the you know who was Diane, but there was.
Well, that was her from Friday Night Dinner.
Oh yeah, she had the hat on, didn't she? Yeah. But yeah, there's that scene where they meet up again, and she's holding that golf club, like her life depends on it, and they're walking past each other, and they go, right, yeah, you good? Hiya. And like the mums, they're hello. They're very mummy the way that they speak to each other.
English mums.
The thing about this film is
bastard.
Cats.
No, that went right there. He's proper sliced me finger. Damn it. Thanks for that, Binks. Didn't say you're coming up. Sorry. Continue.
It's all right, don't worry. You got red on you. Got it in there.
I'm gonna piss blood. Go on.
You'll get demonetized. Can't show the red stuff on YouTube. Oh no.
I did not see you. Come in there. Ow. Anyways, where were we?
It's just we're all over the place with this film, purely for the fact that if you haven't seen it, it's 20 years old. This film is celebrating its 20th year this year. So
Let's stop that right now, shall we?
We shan't pretend in any way, shape, or form that you haven't seen it. And if you haven't,
I'm sorry. What's been wrong with you?
It is British. It is British history. It is how I would even say. I would go as far as saying, for me, in British comedy cinema, I'm not talking about British movies as a whole, but British comedy cinema, this has to be one of the top movies to come out of England in years, and one of the most successful. I mean, you had all the carry-ons in the 60s and 70s and going into the 80s. They are an institution in themselves. However, modern cinema, this puts British comedy on the map. The Office puts on the map, but this one, that was a TV series, but this put movies on the map.
This, and I fully agree with you. I actually did, the Women of Nerd Culture was out on Saturday, and we talked about my love of British comedy, British films, anything British. I have such a soft spot. I have such a soft spot for. I think we do movies and television just as well as anyone else, if not better, especially our comedy. I do. I think that I have a strong opinion on that. And I
agree to a point, but it's crime dramas, British crime dramas. I struggle with. I just find them.
Oh my gosh! I think do you know who does the best? Is ITV.
Oh, I can't. I just can't. I find them a little bit cringy sometimes. I'm like,
oh, I've watched some good ones in more time. But I just want to go to one of the scenes that, up until the point where I read this, I didn't realize it. It's Ed when he's attempting to cheer Shaun up, and he gives him a rundown of what they're going to do. He actually describes the following day.
He does.
And I didn't realize it. So when they're at the Winchester and the drinking, and he actually summarizes what they're going to do the next day, which is Z Day. What was it? Start off with a Bloody Mary, check out girls in the back garden, bite in the king's head, Philip, couple, David and Di, little princess, Liz, stagger back, impersonate zombies, bar for shots, fire in the rifle at the Winchester.
Yeah, so basically Bloody Mary first thing, bite at the king's head, a couple at the little princess, stagger back here and bang bang back at the bar for shots. But that entirely foreshadows the next day, which was the first girl who was called Mary, who even Edgar and Simon got to write a comic book strip for 2000 AD based on her called Something About Mary.
Yep, they did.
And it's insane. Like, I mean, just based on, because they were her favorite, she was their favorite zombie in the whole thing. But yeah, it was just, it was clever foreshadowing. And for me, it doesn't matter. I did not realize that until I watched it last night.
I didn't realize it until I read it. Until I literally read it there. Like earlier on, I was like, oh shit. What I also find very clever about this movie is the zombies at the end. If anyone is playing, no, we don't say zombies. A bad word. Will you please leave me alone? You've got to be paying close attention. But every single one of them, apart from one, maybe two, maybe three, are all twins. Are all identical twins. Tyres is there.
Yeah.
Poor Tyres bit the dust. There's a few celebrities in there. But there's only one I can think of, and she used to be a Radio 1 DJ. Lauren Laverne, I think, is in there. She
was in a band as well, Lauren Laverne.
But
I can't remember what it was, but yeah, she was in a band.
The majority of them are identical twins.
There is a scene at the end when they're flicking through the TV channels and you see Vernon Kay talking to Chris Martin of Coldplay.
Yeah.
And they're talking about Zombaid and all this sort of thing because they're doing the new charity. But it does turn out that Chris Martin played a zombie in that final scene where they come up out of the lift. He walks by the phone booth. There's like a little phone booth in the corner, and he walks past that. So it's a really quick cameo, and you've really got to be eagle-eyed to see it, but it's there.
Well, his whole band were in the Red Wedding. They were the band playing in the Red Wedding, Game of Thrones.
It's really clever how they tie in so many Star Wars references to this film, as well as like all the Romeros.
Really? I'm only looking at the Romero. I didn't even pick up on this. Did I pick up on the Star Wars?
There's a whole section. There's a whole scene where they're fighting off the zombies in the pub, and I can't remember whether it's Shaun says it or Ed that says it, but one of them says, "Get behind me, get behind me," and they recreate it from when Han Solo steps in front and tells everybody to get behind him. They literally recreate it person by person to where they're standing in the scene. Also, when they come up out of the lift and it's the orange light and the smoke and all that, that's supposed to be when they were coming off the Millennium Falcon, and that whole bit where it's like you're first introduced to them coming out, and it's all
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they are massive Star Wars. If you've seen Spaced, again, going back, they are massive Star Wars nerds. Massive.
Right, Simon Pegg most certainly is. Do you know what Shaun's surname was?
Yes, I do, because I saw it. It's on the poster, but I didn't know that until today, and then saw it on the poster, and I was like, really?
Never even. Do you know he's one of those characters you never even think about? What's your last name? Like I don't care what it. I didn't even think of it. But for any of you who didn't know, it's Riley.
Yeah. And
Shaun Riley.
His DJ name when he was at uni was Shaun Smiley Riley. That's what's on that poster that's behind Peter Serafinowicz when they're having that massive, great big
I love that you can say his name.
I don't know if that's how you actually say it. That's how
I don't care. I don't care. I think it's wonderful. I love the bloopers on this when them two are doing the scene where they're talking about Edge, but they're doing it in Beatles style, where they're doing it as John and John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Yeah, I absolutely love the bloopers on that one. And have you ever seen the cut of it where it is made for aeroplanes.
It's probably only 10 seconds long, isn't it?
There's not a lot of swearing in this, but what is the, do you know when there is a lot of swearing in it, but it's like, it's not constant all the time. But you know where Nick Frost is arguing with the housemate and he goes, fuck no.
Yeah.
It's flip no.
Oh.
But it sounds so weird because you can tell it's just been cut in there. It's like, and I don't think the see you next Tuesday word is actually used at all.
Oh, right. We were debating, we had bets on last night whether Netflix, because it's on Netflix for any of you that want to go and watch it. There's that scene where, I'm not going to say it, but Ed's by the car, he pulls up in the Jag, and they're just about to get in the Jag, and he says, "What's up?" N-word, right? And that is the line that I've said at the beginning was one of the most unexpected lines to come out of a mouth in a movie that you've ever heard, because it's so out of place. And you can tell that Ed is in that fantasy land that a lot of British people, and I'm not talking about us, there is a certain demographic of men in the UK, right, that have this illusion that they are tough gangster, bad boy yardie.
Yeah.
Think they know American gang culture, and they pick the best bits of it, and they think that, you know, I'm not talking about
he had just been rolling. He had also been rolling across the top of the Rolls Royce as well. So he clearly kind of had it's when Shaun comes out and goes, what happened when he crashed the Rolls? He literally was in the drive.
You were stationary. It was just you were stationary. Oh, I kind of crashed it. It's the bit as well, a lot of people don't realise. Now, we've covered this this gentleman on one occasion before in a movie that we've reviewed. At the very beginning of the film, you see Shaun at his job, and he explains that Ash is out. Now, that Ash is also a reference to Ash from Evil Dead.
I was just about to say Dawn of the Dead. What is my problem?
Because they were trying to make it, they're trying to make it like an S-Smarty feel with how the logo and everything was done, and they tried to make it very sort of similar, but not at all the same. You know, it gave off the same vibe. So just after that, you see a lad on his phone, and his name's Noel, and he's texting on it. That was another comment we made just quickly about how tiny all the phones were. Like, you saw these people on these tiny little Nokias.
These are not phones that are used for social media, because social media does not exist at this point.
You're on Nokia 3210s was what everybody's on, these tiny little plain snakes. Yeah, that was it. And he's texting someone on the phone, and then he answers. He goes, "All right, mate," and they do that whole conversation.
All right, mate.
And they do that conversation. "You holding? I've only got an Emery, mate." "Oh, you got anything?" "Nah, mate. Nah, I've only got an Emery." And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at Rob, and I'm like, that some people don't get what a Henry means. And I only know this because I'm old, and you pick stuff up as you get older. But a Henry means an 8, and that's all he had. But yeah, it's just one of those things where that whole conversation, and you look at that guy and you're like, you look familiar. There's something, I know you from somewhere, and
we know him from somewhere.
I can't put my finger on it. It turns out that he grows up to be Rafe Spall. He grows up to be Timothy Spall, Peter Pettigrew's real life son, who goes on to be in The Ritual, which we have covered, and he's also plays the bad guy in Fallen Kingdom in Jurassic Park. Also
one of the two Andys.
He is, yes, across from our lovely Paddy Considine.
Yes.
You know,
I love them too. You're going to make me want to watch Hot Fuzz after this, mate.
Well, they are the 118 guys to me, like the two Andys. They just remind me of the 118 guys, which was an advert in the UK.
Everyone and their mums packing.
It is honestly the Somerset / Cornish / Devonish accent.
I absolutely love it. I love them too.
Everybody's packing.
Everyone's packing. Everyone and their mums packing.
It's how like they come in and what's her name? Coleman.
Olivia Coleman.
She plays the dirty policewoman, doesn't she? She's always made it all right, isn't it, boys? and it's always like that.
Everything's an innuendo with
Yeah.
Olivia.
And I will say, Bill Bailey and Hot Fuzz, they don't tell me nothing. That's one of my favourite lines. They don't tell me nothing.
Nothing.
Did you know Quentin Tarantino dubbed this as one of the top 20 movies made since 1992?
I did know that because I have a feeling we got our notes from exactly the same place today.
Mine were I had to fact check a lot of these because
Me too.
I thought I knew them, but then like
Same.
I'd get one and I'd be like,
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I was like, this film's going to be easy because I already know this film. Like, I know that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit, do I? Do I actually know this film? The if you owned the DVD at any time in your life and had bonus features, you would have seen the reason why Nick Frost has a huge chunk of his hair missing throughout the entirety of this film. It's because this is around the era of Jackass. Let's not forget that. And there is a gag. I wouldn't find the funny side of it if some fucker did it to me.
Fucking livid. Just so you know. So come near me with any clippers and I will cut you off.
Meltdown City wouldn't even match up to where I'd go if someone touched my hair.
I'd do time. I'd happily do time. So just so you know.
No, I totally get it. But they did the whole razor to the head, and when he moved, Nick got a massive chunk taken out. And instead of sorting it out, he went, "You have to live with that now on your film."
Yeah, and he said it's kind of something he thought Ed would do anyway, which is right, because Ed is that kind of, he is 1,000 times the Jackass guy, you know, like he would be the guy at the party that does the dumb shit. You know, you just know the fireworks up the arse, that would be Ed, you know. It would be. It
just, you know, it makes us so sad at the end of this film to think, and I know he's in, you know, because Ed does bite the dust in this film in the most epic way. Like it's almost heroic. Like he goes out swinging, but he ends up in Shaun's he ends up in Shaun's shit, and I'm like, poor bugger, can't even rest in peace. He has to constantly sit there.
I'm sorry, Shaun. It's all right, mate. No. I'm sorry, Shaun. Oh, I'll stop doing them when you stop laughing. And that is
when he goes, like, I'm not laughing, and his voice breaks.
It's just that bit, right? It's that there's that section of time when Liz and Shaun are on the lift thing, and she does that thing that we all do when you don't know what to say, or you there is somebody that you really like, and you're saying goodbye. Love you, Ed. She says as they're going up, and it was the way she says it. It was just like, love you, Ed. It was like no like big dramatic goodbye from her. Love you, Ed. And that was it. Gone. You know, it was just, I don't know, it just felt really.
I did have a soft spot for Liz.
Natural.
I thought Liz's performance in I can't remember the actress. Do you know I've never actually seen her in anything else?
I think she's been in bits, but nothing really like that I can think that stands out. But then again, I'm not.
Kate Ashfield? Never.
I'm not a big TV watcher, so I imagine she's more so in TV. So
possibly, yeah. I actually like. I love the way that how she does the cheeky side talk to Shaun.
It's a bit where Shaun wants to give her his mum's flowers. These are for my mum. Your mum, aren't they? Yes.
It's when they introduce each other for the first time. Liz, this is Mum. Mum, this is Liz. Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
hello.
there is so many amazing parts in this film. I think my personal favorite is the when they're finally in the Winchester and they're just sitting there. Would anyone like a peanut?
Big snacks.
It's smack right off the head.
Oh, and the weird thing about that game as well, it's been in all three of the movies that
the
Bandit,
yes,
the arcade machine. It is got Dracula written on the front of it, but it's playing the Phantom of the Opera.
Sure. Even worse.
And it's in all three of the Cornetto trilogies. They've got one of those in every single one of the films. So
I didn't even notice that.
yeah,
No, I love when they're just sitting there and they're going through the TV channels because it just every time I watch it, I'm like, oh Christ, they are like Bravo's on there.
yeah.
When
MTV, Channel 4, E4. Yeah, when they're scanning through and everything's like, there's been an issue, we'll get back to you or whatever. So
it always reminds me of when Princess Diana died because every channel went out with please head to your news station because they weren't showing any programs the day she died. It's crazy. We didn't even go on that bad when the Queen died.
they didn't even shut the TV stations down. Like they learnt
No,
their lesson. They're not doing that again.
yeah,
Yeah,
nuts
it
time.
was. I think for me, the most heartbreaking thing was when they realised that Sean's mum's been bitten. She does that thing again that we would all do. I
It's
didn't really mention it. I didn't want to be a bother.
it's the tissue in the sleeve.
That's a nana thing. That's a mum thing to do, and the
Mhm.
whole, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be a bother, and that's so British, I didn't want to annoy anybody and I didn't want to tell anybody. So I just thought
It's the standoff. I love the standoff, especially when Diane's like, this doesn't seem entirely fair. And someone smashes a bottle and hands it to her.
Ed, yeah, Ed smashes one and gives it, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, it's when Sean's mum literally they say to her lay down and then she looks at him and she goes, it's been a funny sort of day, hasn't it? And it was just like that was pretty much her last words, and she gives Liz the necklace and she's like, well, we're not together anymore. She's like, oh, and like the dart in the head of Sean as well when
With the CGI blood. That is CGI blood that's coming out of Shaun's head because they couldn't quite get the splatter to come out the way they wanted it. They envisioned it. So that is CGI blood.
it's terrible. It's terrible, but it's like one tiny speck in a genius movie. I mean, I can't fault this film. For me,
No.
it's a perfect homage slash parody slash the not only the acting, not only the comedy, not only the writing, but the sheer the way that Edgar approaches filming things
Yeah.
as well. Like there's that, we've talked about it already, but the scene where Shaun comes from his gate to the shop and then the shop back to his house.
Yeah.
And they repeat the scene exactly the same for when the zombie apocalypse has happened and Shaun and Ed were out cold, so they didn't have a clue. That's all done in one take.
Yeah.
That
You
sweeping
can
shot. So
there's no edit there. There's
no, and
there's one camera angle straight forward.
one tracking shot for the whole, and then walking back again. So the only other thing that I can think of that I've seen that in, which was what we talked about with Neil, was during one of the Game of Thrones episodes where he did the entire 360 in a sweeping track shot. So Neil was saying how much work had to go into everybody being in their place for that exact time at the right point, to get the continuity for it to work. So not only did Edgar and Simon do that once, they did it twice, and it had to work both
and
times.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right, because for something that we take for complete, like he's walking from one end, that is, you've got the kid who has to be in the way, you've got the car that needs to stop him, you've got but then the car's like completely fucked up on the next one because of what's going on, the blood marks everywhere. Literally, you've got to go back and watch that whole scene because there is so much going on. And all you're doing is following Shaun to go and get Diet Coke and a fucking cornetto.
Yeah, and I heard about why. There's two things I want to bring up about the cornettos. The cornettos were, the reason why they were introduced was because it was Edgar Wright's choice of hangover cure, a cornetto. He tried it
get where he's coming from.
And Nick Frost, to this day, he did an interview recently, and I'm not sure what podcast he was on, but he was on a podcast, and they asked him, you guys called this cornetto trilogy, you must have got loads of free cornettos over your time. And Nick Frost went, did I fuck? We never got one free Walls ice cream in the whole time we did the cornetto trilogy. We were waiting for them to bill us for using the cornetto name. We never got one free cornetto, he said, and to this day, fuck walls. He was like, oh, fuck them. I was
It
like,
was
brilliant.
one of the things at the time where you would go, you want anything from the shop? Cornetto.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
And
had to do it in Ed's
it had to be a
voice.
mint one for me. If never
Oh,
a
I
strawberry.
totally agree. Mint all the way. Mint is my favorite ice cream choice. So yes, I would totally agree with that one.
Yep, mint. And if I'm feeling posh, coconut or pistachio. But
Ooh.
that's very rare. That's very rare
Oh,
because we don't have very many posh places around
oh.
here.
No, me neither.
That's a
I have a
holiday
shop that
ice cream.
I have a shop that still looks like it did when I was a kid in the 80s. There's not a great you can still see on the wall where the stand was for the videos to go in. You can
Amazing.
still see the imprint of where it was.
You mean the videos where you could go in with a letter from your mum going, I let him have that 18 video, and they go, all right, then I'll give
The,
it to you, and walked
the
out with
guy
it.
the guy who owns the shop knows us so well. I have known him since I was a kid, since he first ever took that shop over in the middle of the 80s. And he knows exactly how old I am, but it's 16 years old when I used to go in with a false note for 20 20
My
Lavender
mum
Butler.
said,
Yeah, even though my mum's never smoked a day in her life.
amazing. Yeah, it used to be the video stores where I lived. You took in a letter that said, oh, this is Karen, and Karen can have whatever video at 18 she wants. This is Mrs. Blah, blah, blah from this address. Let her have it. I let her have it. And they'd always let you have it. I mean, could you imagine trying that these days? Jesus
I
Christ.
I'm terrible when it comes down to money. If I owe someone money, I have to pay it straight away. Otherwise, I just don't have it. I can't. I hate owing people money. And the lady who owned the shop down the road, I once forgot my purse going to work, and not only did she give me my tabs on tick, she gave me my bus fare. And I felt physically ill to the point where I had to ring my mom halfway through the day and go, can you please go and pay the lady at the shop? This is killing me. I don't do very well in situations like that. I have nothing else on Shaun of the Dead.
All I can say is two things. The
Yeah.
Winchester no longer exists. It's got turned into a block of flats, which I
Oh,
think
that's
is
such a
insane.
shame.
The Winchester was never actually called the Winchester anyway. It was actually called a pub called the Duke of Albany, which they just called the Winchester for whatever reasons because of the
Do
rifle thing.
I do know that the owners who own the Winchester in the movie are actually the names of the bar man and bar lady of Edgar's old pub haunts.
Yeah,
Like they took
yeah,
influence from like that as well.
yeah. They did really well with that, but a lot of the extras in this movie were not paid extras. They were actually people they found off the spaced forums. They went on and did
Oh
a
my
casting
god.
call on the space forum. They put out a casting call. They were like, right, anybody want to be in our new film, come down, we need as many people as possible. And that's how they got a majority of the extras for this film, based off the space, an ad that went out in on the space forum. So if you're a fan of space, that's how you got into Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, honestly, I can't. When it comes down to this film, it holds such a special place. But it's made even more special because of space, because of that episode of Art where he's playing Resident Evil on speed and then goes for an art show and envisions the zombies attacking him while he's there. Like this whole thing is just it's an institute for ourselves. It literally is one of, if not one of the best horror comedies ever created.
Mm.
I can't sing its praises any higher
Yep.
than that. It's such a fun movie. But I'm all out of Shaun.
Yep.
I'm not all out of zombies. We could do that again.
I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you.
Give me no, I can't.
Just went into my Ryan Reynolds bloody, what was it, National Lampoon's Van Wilder. It's that bit where he sat there playing the guitar.
I used to love the Van Wilder movies. I don't know if he brought out more than one, but I remember always going to my friend's house and like, put Van Wilder on. Let's watch that again.
That is the start of the Deadpool as the Ryan Reynolds as we know him. That film. That is.
I fully agree. That's when he started to be able to like, oh, maybe I can push the comedy a little bit further. But next week
Next week. You
Next.
hardcore fans are gonna love this one, I think.
I think they
Oh,
are.
that's
I'm gonna love it because this is gonna be my first viewing. Believe it or not, I've never seen this film.
Mike, you may commenceth the beration of for this.
I wouldn't blame you either. Next week we are. Is it John Carpenter? Am I making that up?
is.
It is. We're going back in. We're going back to John Carpenter with They Live. They Live. I'm gonna have fun.
Obey. Very much a movie with eyes on the future without it realizing that it had eyes on the future. You get a lot of reoccurring actors in this movie that have featured in a lot of John Carpenter movies already as well. So again, but we all love Rowdy Roddy Piper. So, you know.
Oh, who doesn't? I think he's great in Always Sunny. And it's so sad because that is the last thing he ever did.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because I feel like they would have used him more.
Oh yeah.
Because he was in a couple of episodes. He wasn't just in the one. But he was so funny, and I just feel like there's like probably about 80% of that is really Rowdy Roddy Piper. Like it's the fact that like how much does a show cost, and like starting to fret, and he's like $50. That's it.
Well, he bore the trash man inadvertently anyway, so it's thanks to Rowdy Roddy Piper we got the trash man. So
it's yeah, that's right. And the Eagles of, I can't think of the thing now, but I can hear the song in my head.
Yeah.
And it's the Desert Rose that
I just remembered them all dressed like eagles, and
it's me, your Desert Rose, and then she gets smacked in the face. I have totally gone off kilter on tonight's episode. But I'm so looking forward to doing They Live, because it is a movie that it's always been something I need to watch that. But I can watch that another time, and that time just never comes. So when we were picking out episodes and Dan said They Live, I was like, yes, because I really want to watch this film, and I can't get away with not watching it now. I have to watch it. So I'm really looking for, and I know Graham recently watched it because he was exactly like me. He's just put it off for years because it was just so easy to do, and then thought, no, I'm gonna sit and watch it, and he watched it recently. So this has been Shaun of the Dead, and next week is They Live. Correct. I'm gonna do that from now on, just because I want to, because I feel like it's been a long time since we've been able to do like a type of thing. So, this episode is out on Monday at 8 o'clock on the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel. If you want to listen to us on audio, you will need to search Monsters Up North from anywhere you get your podcast from, and you will find us. We are not on the Nerdy Up North podcast on audio. We have our own individual one. You can find the links for, and that goes up on a Tuesday, sorry. And you can find the links for Bleeding Marvelous, Nerdy Up North, Monsters Up North. All of our socials are where, Dan?
Down there.
Do you not change your nails yet?
Not yet, no. 2 more weeks.
Oh, they're very pretty. I love them. Very nice. And it was a question on the quiz that we did on Saturday. Yeah, did he not tell you what the questions were? So I did ones based on, the facts. But the last two was, what is the nail art that Dan has this week? And the last one was, what is next week's episode? And I thought, you've got to have watched it to know what next week's episode was. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, is that it?
That's it.
Well, if there's nothing else left to say goodbye, Dan.
Big John says dogs can't look up. Bye.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye. Bye.